Hello, Michael. How are we doing?
Very good. How are you, buddy?
I am not too bad. I'm jealous of your backdrop. Professionalism has taken new heights. You've got a decent setup behind you,
Mate, saying that, I actually really like how you've got the little Fortitude flag and things like that going on yours. So it's just a different style, mate. I like yours. And showing off the
product
merch.
placement and all that sort of stuff. All behind me, but no, all good. My end. For those that are listening on the podcast, you won't be able to see this, but Mike's got a slightly more professional setup than I have, but that lends itself to his technical geekiness that we might be talking about.
Absolute nerd.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about as well. So no, listen, Mike. Great to have you on Goalie Talk. Obviously, several months ago now, I was on your first video podcast, which was great fun, and now I've got the opportunity to get my own back and get you in the hot seat and probe for insightful bits of coaching knowledge and things like that. So I'm excited to hear what you've got to say. But for those that don't know who you are you? Where have you been? What have you done? And where are you now?
Where am I now? I'm still in my flat, so yeah, definitely social distancing, so doing all that good stuff. I'm Mike Irving. I run Sport 101. I set up Sport 101 in 2015. I started, I guess, if we go right back, started playing hockey when I was 12 years old. Completely by accident. Thought I was turning up to football training, and it was hockey, and loved it. So
pure accident.
Total accident. Yeah. So it was school hockey, so I'm not counting that as when I started playing, but I first started playing club when I was 12. But yeah, turned up to school hockey lunchtime session, and I thought it was football. So yeah, and now here I am today.
You've done a few things in between that. So the coaching, like, how did you go from playing to coaching?
So I started coaching when I was about 15, when I was still playing. And I just loved it. I've always liked instructing and teaching, coaching, like that side of things. It's always been kind of there or thereabouts. I've taken different paths, and I know what you're alluding to. I've taken like different paths along the way before I ended up being a full-time coach. But when I first started coaching, I was 15.
That makes it sound really, really like seedy, like you've done other things. I don't know how to clarify what they were.
So I was a chef for 4 years, which is not many people know about. So yeah, working in the New Forest.
Lovely.
Little pub bistro in the New Forest. So I did that for a while. Stopped doing that because I didn't like working weekends and evenings.
Yes, good.
That worked out really well.
Yeah.
But at least I'm outside and not in a sweaty, horrible kitchen. Then went into, I've always been into kind of outdoor stuff. So like climbing, mountaineering, like that kind of thing. So from my days as I was in scouts and all that sort of stuff, and had some pretty cool mates growing up who were really into like proper hardcore climbing and stuff. So that group of friends got me into being an outdoor ed instructor, so climbing instructor and those kind of things, which was really cool. And then it just wasn't floating my boat enough. I kept coming back to hockey. I loved instructing. I loved what the skills that gave me as a coach in terms of group management, making sure people don't fall off of climbing walls, fairly important, as well as making it fun. So that kind of really was the base of my, I guess, style of coaching. And then, just moved up through, turned up to do some county coaching because I took a year out of hockey altogether when I was doing the climbing stuff, playing, coaching, all of it. And then came back into it when I was probably 20, 25, something like that, properly. And then doing county, did South coaching for 1 year as an assistant and goalkeeper coach and stuff. So yeah,
so this is kind of what I want to get into, because some people who know you, who might not know this, obviously you're a man of many talents. You're cooking and you're climbing and you're outdoor pursuits and things like that, and a few other bits and bobs in there that we know about. You know, like making bags. You make bags, don't you?
Yeah, I started a hobby, and my problem is I get really into something, and I don't just stop at average. I like to go all the way. So
no, I get that. So what some people may or may not know about is the fact that actually you are and forever will be a goalkeeper, and started your hockey journey as a goalkeeper. Was that your outfield first?
Yeah, so I was an outfield player for a little bit. Bit of old school right wing. Was relatively quick over 10 meters, but then faded very quickly after that.
Like we all do, yeah.
I actually was a football goalkeeper, so I came from, I used to do football goalkeeper training on a Friday night or whatever. And then, being totally honest, I love the look of the kit. I remember the goal. I obviously liked being in goal from football, but then loved the look of the kit. It was colourful. You were safe. Guys chucking themselves around. I was like, yeah, I want me some of that. So, when I was 12, 13, started in goal. And then, never looked back. Started life at Handball Hockey Club back in the day.
Where it all began.
And then moved to Southampton, was there for a little bit. That was really important for my love of the game, Southampton Hockey Club. My old school coach, Doug, who I can't find for love nor money. I'd love to try and reconnect with him, but incredible coach. Very fortunate to get weekly goalkeeper training from someone who was really passionate and just loved the game. And back then, Southampton women were in the National League, so I used to train alongside the National League keepers then, who I'm still friends with now. And then, just loved the game. And then what would happen? Loads of goalkeepers loved Doug's training, so that grew, and then I'd help out for the start of the training, and then we'd get my own training later. So that was kind of where it all started, really.
Cracking. So what? So now you are coaching full time. Mm-hmm. You are just make sure I get this right. Run Sport 101. You are an FIH coach developer.
Coach educator.
Sorry, what's the difference?
Coach educator it's more focused on the individual coach rather than necessarily bigger picture stuff. So kind of delivering courses and stuff for the FIH across loads of different spectrums. And now a lot of online stuff, which we've been doing recently. Yeah. But I was also fortunate enough to go to India and deliver an FIH level 1 and level 2 out there in Bhubaneswar, which was pretty sick.
Amazing. That must be really interesting.
Yeah. I was fortunate to go with two incredible coach educators in Polo and Sven, who are absolute heroes. So that was a quality trip.
That sounds like a good trip. And then you are head coach at Marlow Hockey Club at the moment.
Yeah. So just finished first season back at Marlow Hockey Club. And then also, so I'm head coach for the men's first 11 there, and then assistant coach for Old Georgians men first 11 who are in the Premiership right now. So
cracking. So a man of many talents, a man of got a lot of plate spinning at the moment, different things. But I think what I really am interested in talking with you about is the fact that your history and your experience as a goalkeeper, your movement from that position within the team, and then actually being a squad coach, and your knowledge about goalkeeping and how you have learned all the skills and ropes about goalkeeping, and then lending that as a good coaching philosophy for goalkeepers, and then putting that within your practices as well. So I guess a little bit of the conversation is about how you see the goalkeeper and the role of the goalkeeper currently, how you best integrate, for lack of a better expression, your goalkeepers, and because you inherently will have a better sort of alignment with what the goalkeeper might need. But I'm just really interested to see how you see that and what you do to sort of enable those sessions a little bit. But before we go on, Sport 101 is I mean t-shirt and sticks and hats and everything and water bottle. There we go. There's product placement everywhere. But Sport 101's been going for. I want to talk about that a little bit because Fortitude and Sport 101 have collaborated last year. We were hoping to. Well, we are doing this year, but it's in a slightly different format because of the current situation as well. Just would love to know a little bit more about Sport 101, like what is it all about? What's its why? Like, why have you set it up?
So Sport 101 came about because I got to a point where I needed something more from life, I guess. But the kind of main driver behind Sport 101 is something which kind of underpinned it. I was fortunate in the fact that I had Doug as a really good coach. But outside of that, through the old pathway, through other aspects, I didn't have a very enjoyable playing career for one reason or other. And so what I wanted to do was create something which 13, 14-year-old Mike would have loved to have been a part of back in the day. And that has been a massive driver. So giving young players the opportunity to experience high quality coaches in a safe environment, which is really open and lets people try stuff out. And it's about the players. People talk about stuff being player centered, and I'm not sure. I think the way Sport 101 goes about it, and it kind of came from a tagline, which is 101 family. And that for me is not just some cheesy hashtag which we all throw around. Like, I fully believe that. So if people are part of the 101 family, like, they are family to me and to the other guys around. Like, we've got players who met each other year one who are now at university together. They'll see a 101 shirt when people are training or warming up, and it's now connecting people outside of,
and do some coaching for you as well.
Yeah, so I've had now 3 guys who have been involved with 101 who are now back in kind of coaching staff or support staff roles. And that's not even guys who necessarily made it as, top players, but the way they think, the way they are, the way that they can connect with people is so massive. Like, why would I not want them working for Sport 101? And I think that's being able to give those guys a foothold and a placement to then move forwards, is what it's all about.
Yeah, and the academy's run through the summer.
Yeah,
and you've done some camps and things before as well, but there's a performance element to it, as there's a standard that is required for people to actually attend in the first place. Probably give or take. I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure.
So the quality of what you get and what you see on the pitch is really good. It's decent, but what I see when I turn up to the training sessions and pretend to do some goalkeeper coaching is that everybody knows what's going on. Everybody is communicating. Sometimes you get to sessions and people are just like, right, there's the coach, there's the players, and but everybody's in it. Everybody, as soon as you're on the pitch, you've got passionate coaches that work with you, that want to actually have a bit of fun, get involved, have that, like you said, that open scenario, that open environment where we're just gonna have a little play around, and then you get cracking. Actually, it's really, really great to see, and like, actually, when you see it, you don't really need to ask what the why is, which is kind of I'm not just blowing a trumpet here. That's why it's really, really, really good.
And I think going back to that, like, I've been really fortunate in terms of when we finish an academy season, the staff are already texting me saying, I want back next year. And I think that for me is credit not only to what's been set up, but I think it's also credit to the kids that we get on board as well. Like, the players make it. And I think you're right, because it's not just about having, we talk about it being fun and open and enjoyable and everything else, but you're right, you nailed it on the head, because there is that performance aspect. Like, I've been fortunate enough now to work with some really cool players who have now gone through to play Premiership, a couple of got senior caps, like, and seeing them grow up and grow through. It's because there's that balance of, right, when it's time to work, we work, but when it's not time to work, we're going to have some fun and we're going to enjoy the experience, enjoy the process. And I think, again, that comes back to something I didn't do as a player. I didn't enjoy the process. I was too focused on like my performance, and I wasn't actually, when I look back to my playing career, like I've not enjoyed the process like even 10% as much as I've enjoyed my process as a coach. And I've loved my process as a coach, going back from being an assistant coach or just a goalie coach. I say just a goalie, like a goalie coach at county level, to now I've been fortunate enough to have been a head coach at Premiership level, like, and being an assistant coach at junior international level. Like, for me, I've enjoyed every single step of the way. There have been hard bits and there have been some bits which I didn't enjoy, but actually, when you take the whole picture, I've enjoyed the process of going from where I was then to where I am now, and not feeling like I've been caught up in myself. I've actually wanted to be around people, and I think that's kind of key in all of this.
So your goalkeeping philosophy has got to be pretty well rounded.
Yeah.
I would say that you understand what you want from the goalkeepers that you see that come onto the pitch, whether that's at Marlow, whether that's at Sport 101, whether that's at Old Georgians or any other club and group of players that you have. What, in a nutshell, could you sort of wrap that philosophy into a couple of sentences?
I think for me, and I will be a little bit biased, I love my goalies, and I think if you've got a good goalie, the confidence and the way that then changes the way that your defenders and the rest of your team play is actually massively underrated. If you've got a really decent goalie, your defenders will then look after the bits that they're meant to look after. Whereas if you haven't got a good goalie, your defenders try and do the job of the goalie and their role. So for me, goalkeeper has to have a personality, because they're going to be with the team week in, week out. They need to have a decent personality, and something which people talk about goalies being mental and stuff. And yeah, let them be mental. Like, fair play. They're going to be mavericks. They're going to be left field, but they're in a position which is maverick and left field if you think about it. They need to be athletic. I think, having seen it goalkeeping develop over the years, I think an athletic goalkeeper is worth more than just being tall or just having good reflexes. I think you have to be athletic, and I think height does come into it a little bit in the men's game, but it's not the be all and end all. So if you're short but you can reach the corners, cool, you've reached the corners. Like, I don't care. And then I think the second thing is they need to be able to buy into the whole team. So it's not just, and I think this is where I come from. I've always enjoyed the tactical side of things. When I was playing, I think it was, I liked listening to the tactics. I liked listening to what we were going to do and what was going on. And so for me, I want goalkeepers that are going to buy in, not just go sit on the backboard when we're having a team chat. Like, you're in the team, like you're in the family, you're in the team, like buy into all of it. And they have to understand pressing, outletting, principles. Like, they have to understand that, because what comes out of their mouth from a communication point of view has to fit in with what we're doing. It's no good their comms being totally different to what we're trying to play as a team. Like, that doesn't work. And the only way they're going to understand it is if they have knowledge of, they understand the game. So not just, okay, I understand my set position, my technique, all that stuff. Like, you have to understand what's going on in front of you. And so, yeah, I think that for me is massive. And
I think just on that, whilst you've spoken about it, and this is really important, because it seems to be with all the webinars and things that are going on at the moment, you've got, you can go into a lot of technical detail. You can go into how you coach. You can go into the cultural side of things as well. There's lots of things going on. Obviously, the webinars we've been doing too. Lots of questions about, okay, well, how does that fit within your squad session? How does this fit within your gameplay session, small unit play, whatever? Whether the word into how you integrate goalkeepers is important, and it comes up a lot. it's hugely relevant. But for me, I quite often see it as the first bit is how you don't neglect your goalkeepers. So
no,
there's a lot of things. If you look at from coaching behaviours, going, well, what's going on that pitch over there, and what's going on that pitch over there. So your goalkeeper sitting on the back of their goal, detached from the coaching session. The coach has gone, okay, you go and goal. I'm going to chat with the outfield players, and then we'll get the drill going, or whatever they're planning on doing.
Absolute pet hate of mine.
And for me and you, because that's always what I'm going to be thinking about. Like, how is that goalkeeper operating with the whole team? What does that picture look like from the goalkeeper? You'll be thinking about it because you have been a goalkeeper and you know what you want. You have a philosophy, and I think that is desperately important. Is that every single squad coach needs to have a philosophy about their goalkeeper. But for me, it's a cultural thing. So you're saying, this is what I want from my goalkeeper. They need to be the other coach on the pitch. They need to know the tactics. They need to be able to understand what's going on. They need the knowledge. But that comes as long as everybody is bought into the fact that that's going to be valuable for them.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Equally saying the players are going, right, Mike in goal, you've got a name, not goalie, by the way. And you
Keeps
Mike the goalie. Oh yeah, exactly. Oh, Keeps, come over here. And then actually having some valuable input with it. At least at that point, your goalkeeper is going to feel like their voice is valued, rather than actually it doesn't really matter. So what message does that send when you're going, actually, you go stand over there because we don't need you to know about what's going on?
So we build that into every aspect of training. And this isn't something I've done new. This is something I've done since I started being an outfielder coach. Like, if I'm doing like a 5v5 mini game or a 4v4 cage game or whatever, like, the goalie is with a team, so they come into their team talks and they are involved in that, and that's cultural from the moment they step on the pitch. Like, it's not just we'll wait till game day for them to then be a part of the team. Like, it's done all the way through. Like, okay, if goalkeepers want to go do separate warm-ups, fine, because at some training sessions we have extra goalies and stuff, so the keepers actually like to have that little bit of goalie time, which I'm okay with. Like, also, them being Mavericks, they need their little alone time, and I'm not against that at all. But for me, having that, they have to understand that they are part of a squad from minute one, and the way that you communicate to them, the way that you engage with them, the way you get them involved in your training, like, that underpins everything. So if you wait till game day, then it's too late. Like, you can't run a program like that.
Yeah, and I think it's a real balance between content and culture or behavior, and trying to find that balance. So you can't know what to say without the knowledge and actually having an understanding of the game, but you also can't say anything if you don't have the confidence and the platform to be able to do it. So that both, like, they go hand in hand.
And I want to hold on that point, actually, because I think that comes back to my journey as a coach. Like, I was a goalkeeper through and through. I could barely hold a stick. Some people say I can barely hold a stick now, but
I've seen that.
But I remember getting told, "Oh, it's all right. You're only a goalie coach," and that phrase lit a fire in me, and I was like, "Nah. Like, that's not how I want to be perceived. I want to be perceived as a hockey coach."
Yeah.
But I really understand goalkeeping. And that was just then. And then what I then set out to do was I had to go and understand every aspect of outfield playing. So I went and I learned how to drag flick, aerial, hit a backhand, like the finite detail on everything. I learned how to run a team, because that's very different running a team to running a training session. I learned how to deliver in different ways so that everybody can understand and everybody can buy into it. And I talk, you said earlier, I get kind of tunnel vision on things. I've been tunnel vision on being a better coach for the best part of 15 years now. And well, not quite, a long time. And I still am nowhere near the finished article. Like, I don't think you can ever finish as a coach, but I think coaches, outfielder coaches who just call themselves an outfielder coach, like if they did 10% of what I did to learn as an outfielder coach towards their goalkeepers, their team's gains would be astronomical, because they would understand, okay, well, if they're making a save in this way and only putting their hand forward and attacking here, the ball is only ever going to go there.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? One, from an offensive point of view, so actually, can I set my rebounders there so then I can get the second phase? Or I need to tell my goalkeeper, actually, you need to think about, can you open that wrist up, because you're only ever putting the ball there, to then be able to put it there. And I'm not saying you have to be a hyper technician, but understanding goalie traits will buy you 2 or 3 goals a year, and it will save you 2 or 3 goals a year as well. So I think invest in that time and understanding them, because that's as important as going on a webinar to learn about small-sided games, as you should be learning about goalkeepers as well, and not just the technical side, but the technical side as well as what the tactical ramifications of that. So
and I whilst you're talking about it, I'm very conscious that the conversations I've had recently with coaches that think they don't know that much about goalkeeping, so they think they need to be highly technically proficient. So as you just said, you don't. Like, what do you need from the game? What do you need from the outcomes in the circle, defensively and attacking? I've always said this, that good goal scorers are going to make good goalkeepers. So if you've got a load of people that you've got relevant situations in the D, baseline entry, shots from certain areas, the movement of the ball in the D, chaos in the D, penalty corner attack, anything, all the things that will lead to goal, anything in that sort of ugly area in front of goal as well, with lots of rebounds and a bit of chaos. Like, what the outcomes usually are as a coach, so the immediate effect is going to be relevant for your goalkeeper. And then equally, what do you want to do? Okay, we need to deny rebounds. How are we going to do that as a defensive unit? How are you going to do that as a goalkeeper? Like, where do you need that ball to go without mistaking your primary role, which is essentially stop the ball going in the goal? How can you help your goalkeeper do that? Second to that, and this is always really important, stopping the ball going in the goal is paramount.
Yeah.
Literally here, just below it, is making sure you don't give away a rebound. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's never that way round. It always has to be this way round. So
correct.
As a general philosophy, it could just be that, right? Okay. Do whatever you can. Just get yourself between the ball and the goal, however you can, and then we can think about, right, what are you doing as an outfield coach to constrain or promote things that you want to happen with the outfielders? You can do the same with your goalkeepers. There's no different the approach to doing that. Okay, so you can only make the save and put the ball in these areas. Okay, and then at least they've got a little bit of a focus as well. So, but I think it's easy for I'm going to call them squad coaches rather than outfield coaches, because that will mean that we're separating things unnecessarily. Is that actually, if they think about it in its very simple terms, they can add a lot of value to their goalkeepers, and what you've been talking about it. But you have the history and the experience as a goalkeeper, but you have then gone and taken that to your outfielders. You've done it the other way round, and it doesn't take a lot for you to know about the basic tactics of what you want out of your team. The finer details, like you said, you've gone away and learnt about, and that's added value because you're looking after everybody. But outfield coaches squad coaches need to have some sort of grasp about what the goalkeepers can, can't, shouldn't be able to do in the goal, and how you nurture that and give them something to think about without not necessarily the need or that current want for a specialist coach like what we do with Fortitude to come in and actually hone skills, be able to then help with the other coaches putting things together with their small unit play, small sided game to help the goalkeeper as well. So there's a real I'm going to call it confidence, but an understanding that actually there's probably more in their heads about what they know about goalkeeping, because it is the game. It is just the game.
Yeah, and I think even if so when I was at uni, I majored in biomechanics, so I've always enjoyed kind of that kind of side of things, like in terms of how biomechanics affects sport. And I think that for me helped me understanding outfielder techniques. So being able to slap a ball, hit a ball, if your wrists are in certain areas, you're going to block and you're going to reduce the movement and you're going to struggle to be able to deliver techniques. And I think the passion of that came from error correcting and understanding goalkeepers. And I think having that understanding, so a good technical outfielder coach will have that eye for error detection in the moment. So like I know that I believe that goalkeepers are really, really good error correction coaches, because you have to see stuff like from the moment the ball has left your stick, you have to be able to see where is their weight, what are their hands, where's their head, before the ball's even got to them in that half a millisecond. If you can then convert that to outfielders, and then the speed in which they're trying to, their swing patterns, their balance, all those sort of stuff, if you can then convert that over, then you're going to be a good technician coach for outfielders. And I think vice versa. I think if there are outfielder squad coaches listen to this who are, who are really good technicians, and I think we need more of them in the world at the moment, then I don't see why they can't convert over to understand the biomechanics and the physics behind goalkeeping, because your movement is governed by a certain set of laws. And so it doesn't matter if you're an outfielder, a goalkeeper, a javelin thrower, it's all transferable. And I think have that eye and have that confidence to be like, actually what, and have that want to understand why. So why are they struggling to get up? Why can they not dive left? Why can they not kick with their left foot? Is it in their preparation step? So are they doing a preparation step before kicking with their right foot versus just trying to like stab at it with their left? Is there lack of follow through in their head movement, which stops their range with their left foot or something like that? And actually try and understand why. And even if you just understand the footwork of a goalkeeper and like head and like feet, head, hands. If you just pay a little bit of attention to that and nothing else, the knowledge, it grows so quickly. So I think and listening to that, it sort of brings us on to sort of the next sort of part of the conversation I want to have with you is the balance between technical and gameplay, and how much use it. So I'm going to keep it to outfielders for now in terms of what you've learned. Okay, how you hit a backhand, for example. Okay, like and how you can apply that in different areas of the game. Do you apply that to how you pass? Do you apply that to how you shoot? And actually, how do you learn that technique and make it into a skill? So aligning that with something that you were doing in goal. So you let's say you decide to use you dive to your right on a shot on a drag play. Okay, let's just use that as an example. Like how much. This is a very broad question, so it's not like, okay, at 12 years old you do it like this, 16 years old you do it differently, depending on who you've got in front of you. But broad strokes, right? Your general view on the balance between the technical sort of one-on-one coaching element, biomechanics, tweaking this and that, being controlled, and then the other end of the spectrum is then game time,
being able to actually use that way to solve a problem? Like, where's the balance for you?
I don't think you can put a percentage on it in terms of you should
agree.
do 50-50 or 80-20, whatever. For me, this is where I feel coaching is an art, and I've said this a few times, and I feel that you have to be able to deliver to your players, goalkeepers or outfielder, what they need at that moment in time.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should limit players by putting ages on stuff. I remember when I first started coaching, people were like, "Oh, you can't coach goalies to dive until they're 13." I was like, "That's ridiculous." Like, you've got gymnasts at 8 years old chucking themselves all over the place. Why can I not teach a goalie to dive who's in protective equipment? Like, that's bonkers. I never knew if that was an urban myth or not, but I remember it really riled me when I started coaching. So I was like, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, you've got to balance between what they need and what they want.
Yeah, for sure. And therefore, I think it's, I've had a question recently on one of the FIH courses. People saying, "Oh, when do you start teaching people, like kids, what a press is and what an outlet is?" I'm like, you don't have to call it a press or an outlet, but you can say to get the kids to be creative. Like, how are we going to defend this as a team? And I've done that with 12, 13-year-olds, and they've owned that. So as much as people think, "Oh, well, we do the tactical stuff later, it's fine," or we'll only do technical early. Like, the game's not like that. Like, I know. So I did a session this year where we stripped everything right back and let the boys get the feel of being able to use the backhand as a longer distance pass. And we spent half an hour, 40 minutes just looking at the received, moving the ball to then being able to deliver the backhand unopposed. And we let the boys have that time just to feel the ball, feel the motion. What does it feel like to get it right? And what does it feel like to get it wrong? And we didn't finish the session when they got it right. We finished it when they understood the feeling of right and wrong.
Yeah.
And then I was like, cool, we're done.
Yeah, so I use a phrase to making it stick. So you see this a lot. It's like, all right, you've got it, let's move on. And like, no. You've got like a bit of it. Like, you've got the bulk of it. But then, like you said, what's it like when you open your wrist up a little bit and you look like you want to make, where do you want to add some deception to it as well? Or what's the feeling like when you need to change it at the last minute, but still sort of carry on through with your with what you're trying to do? And then what does it actually is that skill? Does it look consistent? Does actually how you hit that ball? So the movement of all different limbs and the shape of how the stick actually approaches the ball. Does it actually create? If that's different, does it create the same outcome as well? And that's kind of what you're trying to get that mastery. So you got to make it stick. And I think like spending 40-45 minutes, an hour, whatever it takes to then maybe get to that point. But
the other side of it might be 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it could be 5 minutes. It literally could be their hand position isn't quite right, so maybe they're over cranking their wrists, and that's then affecting their motion. Slight tweak of that, and then all of a sudden they've got the flow, and they're like, "Cool, see you later." Like, get back in.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like people should be afraid to then let people get the feel. Like, I'm a massive advocate for small-sided games. I think they're so important. But I also feel like you have to give people the time to understand the flow of things, because, I worked with one of the guys this year, and he'd never been coached how to hit a backhand. He was like, "I've never done it." And I'm like how? And he was like, "I can calf turn." The technique was pretty horrible. He won't mind me saying this if he hears it. But then we worked on it. Like, we had that time. We had that 35-40 minutes, and he came off and he was like, "I feel so much more confident being able to take this into training because I understand what I'm doing." And I think, yes, you shouldn't only do technical stuff, but if you neglect the technical stuff, then for me, that's almost like neglecting your nutrition. Like, you don't turn up to training and only talk about nutrition, or you don't only turn up to training and only do your physical stuff. Like, your technique is a part of that. And if you invest a little bit of time in understanding the biomechanics, then that actually then helps your feedback if you're doing a small-sided game, or even if you're doing 11v11 and you want your fullback to just chuck aerials. Like, if you understand the technique that sits behind it, you can then give individual feedback in the middle of training, which is then going to help them. But they won't understand the feel of it unless they've experienced it.
Yeah. And I think the common misunderstanding is that technique does not come from a textbook. Technique comes from your textbooks. How do you do it? What does your movement look like? Not necessarily compared to anybody else, but, and you as a coach understand the nuts and bolts of it, the biomechanics, how people change, how people, like, however you want to dive, however you want to lunge, however you make that glove safe, right? Does it actually get you the outcome along with your overarching sort of philosophy principles about save the ball first, deny rebound? Does that get that goalkeeper to do what they need to do to answer the question, to make the save in that particular way? But it will look different from someone else because they'll be taller, shorter, quicker, tighter in the hamstrings and hip flexes. Their ability to mobility comes into it, the physical side of it. There's all sorts of different how they do something is then, and this is where I think technique is just a way of doing things. It's not like the technique is the be all end all. Oh, that's great technique. It's like, okay, well, they've done it in a way that might look like something out of the textbook, but someone else has done it a different way and still actually been in control. And you can see that they've been in control. They've seen there's some understanding, there's some seen there's some mastery of the skill as well. So and I think this is why we kind of quite like working together, because apart from the fact that we quite like challenging each other on things, that we actually align what we think in that.
Definitely.
Whether you've got an outfielder or a goalkeeper, the technical element, especially in the huge learning phase of their teenage years as well, is that the technical and the gameplay play a very, very important part, and actually learning these skills. How do you get somebody from what is that component to what is that like autonomous stage of going, I can just do it and do it in different ways and still get what I need out of it and deal with the pressure. And you 100% need both, but you're bang on in that it depends on what you've got in front of you, who it is, what their needs are, and that essentially are the nuances of what you are like as a coach, to be able to see those things and then apply them. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, and I think people say like, oh, small-sided games are everything because you were maybe, you weren't taught how to walk, like you learned like. But there's one thing between walking and me and you going for a run versus.
We don't do that.
No, but like
we don't run.
Like Mo Farah and Usain Bolt, like obviously they've got the physical behind it, but they were coached how to be more efficient. Like the technique was refined so that they could be as fast as they could be. So I think small-sided games will get you to a point. I think if you only did technical, that would only get you to a point. But it's about marrying the two, and again, coming back to the art of it, like there has to be the art and that social element where you can read the group and be like, actually, they need something different. Like, let's do it. Let's get it done. And as long as there's an understanding of why you're doing something, then give it a go. Like, make a game out of it. Put some time pressure on it. Like, make it so that, I don't know, but also a little reward. So like if we've done the backhand session and the guy does an amazing backhand during training and I've not prompted him, I'm going to buy him a beer in the bar afterwards and be like, that is for that backhand. And you can find different ways of rewarding it without him knowing that it's going to be a reward, or her, or whatever. Like, understand the group, I've taught a lot at the moment in the FIH level 1 about culture underpins everything. If you don't have culture, then you can't have those relationships. You can't know what your players need. So get the culture right, and then use the art of coaching and the feel of coaching to be able to then deliver what they need. And that for me is everything.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I actually, whilst you've been talking, I've been thinking about how I learned to do up my shoelaces. I don't do my shoelaces up like anybody else, but it's a double bow in the end, right?
And do your shoes fall off when you walk around?
No, shoes stay on, laces stay done up. And I'll show you next time I see. It'll be like, why do you do it like that? Like,
I think this needs to be an Instagram live of how Tom ties his shoelaces.
Like, I get it. It's going to sound really middle class, but when you do like a bow tie up properly,
yeah,
right, and it looks like a mess, and then all of a sudden it goes poof, and it hopefully is perfect. It's not normally absolutely perfect, but that's kind of what it looks like when I do up my laces. When I do up my laces, it's a bit of a mess.
That.
All of a sudden, poof, there you go. Anyway, but it just shows when given a problem and you've got to work out, and you're happy to be able to find different ways of doing it yourself and changing things and actually not necessarily relying on what's right and wrong and stuff straight out of the textbook, but using that as a decent guide, you're going to get somewhere to develop a skill and a way of doing something, and then being able to have the right environment to apply it. So whether that's a goalkeeper learning how to approach a player and smother the ball, or whether that's an outfield player using their backhand to score in different ways, that environment that you set for them is to be able to apply what they understand about how they can move their body, but essentially what's the problem, how are we going to solve it.
Yeah. And what makes me think of that is also when you and Davey Hart were chatting on the podcast earlier, in the fact that he's 6'5", whatever he is, absolute giant of a man. He uses his feet to reach the corners because he's 6'5" and he can do that. But I think someone like Maddie, who's not 6'5", is probably near a 5'5", but she's not that short.
Yeah.
But she will get to the corner in a different way.
Yeah.
And they both made a save. They're both at one point the best goalkeeper in the world. Like, I'm not going to tell Maddie to use her feet to get to the corner, or Hart to dive for stuff when he can just reach it with his foot. Like, it's understanding like everybody's different, and you can still be world class. Yeah,
I totally agree. I knew we'd properly get into this, and lots of things, and I want to make sure that we stay on the path of the goalkeeper as much as anything. But marrying the two up, and having like a general picture about hockey and how we coach the team. But so we've kind of understood a little bit about your philosophy, my philosophy, I guess, as well, about the balance between the technical and the gameplay elements, and how you marry the two. Your vision on how every coach should have a goalkeeping philosophy, but it'd be really interesting to get your viewpoint as well, because the question you asked me when we were talking on the first ever Sport 101 podcast was about the role of the goalkeeper in the modern game. So I want to get your views on as well, because I think a lot has changed in 20 years. The game itself has changed in 20 years, but where do you see the role of the goalkeeper in the modern game, and how much has it changed since you started playing?
So I guess for me, the big development, and similar to what we said on my podcast, it was how athletic the goalkeepers have got and how athletic they need to be. I think I didn't pay enough attention to that, and I can think of a lot of really good goalkeepers back when I was playing who weren't necessarily athletically amazing. Like, they were maybe naturally gifted, but they didn't work on it as hard as maybe they could have done. And I think that for me has kind of shaped how much more aggressive goalkeepers can be when they need to be in that kind of like the 7-meter circle in front of goal. Like, I feel like if you've got your agility and stuff, you can then deal with that. I think I think goalkeepers are getting, are moving less in some opinions, I think, in fact that they save that kind of flying around stuff for when they absolutely need it, and they don't go and give the attackers a trigger beforehand. Because I think you're right in terms of, like, the first and foremost thing is, this is my home, and I have to protect my home. And if I leave that, then somebody, like, it's open, you know. So for me, I think if you can be really good and fill the goal in one way or another, and you can make those initial saves and you can kill rebounds, I think that's massive. But then having that, like I said, having that kind of explosiveness where if it does get gritty and ugly and horrible, you're in there, and you're in there with good timing. You're not taking your own team out, the other guy. So you've got the physical strength to have that precision on, I'm going in here, I'm going to make this save. And the guys are then in a position to be able to clear up after it, instead of, I'm going and kind of smash everything.
And you don't want that to be an inconsistent thing either. And so one of the things that I use in my coaching to be able to distinguish between what you're talking about with efficiency of movement, keeping it simple, shot stopping more than anything else, staying a bit closer to your line and not rushing out and being too gung-ho, and then those times when you've got to move quickly, be agile, adapt your play, approach the 7-yard area or even further out. Sometimes you've got to be aggressive and proactive in a way. And I like looking at, like, most coaches have analogies for things. I'll put that as like a car analogy. So you're in eco mode. So most cars these days, you've got 2 modes usually, maybe 3, but the 2 main modes, you have eco mode. So how efficient are you being with your movement? Okay, how much time can you give on the ball? Are you expelling the right amount of energy for that particular shot and moment, and actually having a clear head about things? And then you've got your sports mode. Yeah. Can you turn left? Can you turn right quickly? Can you stop quickly? All of a sudden, your suspension's got a bit stiffer, and you can actually be able to move left and right, and you have a mindset with it. All of a sudden, you switch that sports mode. Like, if I was in a car and I put sports mode on, I'd probably be knowing that I've got a few sort of country lanes ahead of me, and I've got a few left and rights, and I might have to just make sure.
You got sport mode in the truck then, mate?
No, sports mode in the truck. It's very much
eco or eco.
That's the opposite of eco, unfortunately. I have to do something about that, but it looks good anyway. No, but it's just, it kind of lends itself to what you're talking about. Is that actually it gives you a nice analogy to go, right, I'm in eco mode. I can stay calm but ready. I'm still moving, and then you have the sports mode, and it makes a lot of sense. And you're right. If you don't have that defensive cohesion, and you're having to do so much because the defensive unit aren't behaving themselves, then you're actually gifting the strikers a goal rather than asking them to do something else. And I'm still standing in the goal. You've still got to beat me. It's as simple as that. If I move out of the goal, you either pass it round me or move quickly round me, because I'm trying to do too much or win the ball too eagerly, and then all of a sudden it's an open goal. If I can at all points be between the ball and the goal, I'm going to win most battles.
Yeah, and you look at someone like Van Ash in the way he plays, I think he's a model of that. Like, he only goes flying out when he absolutely has to, but his control in that 7-meter box is like, it's next level, you know. And I think he has got the reflexes and the skill sets and everything else, and I think he for me really models what modern goalkeeping is. So yeah, he's a character and everything else, but I think he also, the way in which he plays suits the modern game, which is why he's the best goalie in the world. So
yeah, no, don't disagree with you, mate. Do not disagree with you. I think we'll probably wrap things up there. I think the conversation that I wanted to have with you is predominantly about the technical and the gameplay stuff, and I think we've got into that in some detail. I think we could go, spend hours
talk for days on that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think most of these conversations that we're having on this podcast / video goalie talk is that it's general viewpoints about some really important issues and some interesting issues as well. And I think having your insight from the experience that you've had coaching teams as well as being a goalkeeper will hopefully resonate with a lot of other squad coaches as well, and being able to go, well, actually, from me and you having been goalkeepers, and me sticking with the sort of goalkeeper as a specialism, but recognizing it's part of the whole picture and the whole game, is that as long as you're thinking about the game, you can add value to your goalkeeper, whether you know the technical detail or not. How can you help them with that? Well, conversations with the goalkeeper, who might know a little bit more about the technical element than you do as a coach. If you don't know, so why not ask them about it, and things like that. So this has been hopefully really useful for lots of people that are watching and listening, that are squad coaches, that maybe feel that they need a bit more confidence about how they go about their view on their goalkeeping philosophy, how they work the goalkeeper into their squad session, and a little bit more being able to give some thought to that, what they want from the game. But obviously learning a little bit more about Mike from the other side as well, because you're running your podcast and doing your diversifying in these strange times as well. So it's nice to actually hear a little bit more from you, mate, and give you some airtime, even though I've probably been talking a fair bit as well, like I am.
It's nice being the other side. It's weird being the other side. Like, I'm usually like, I've got my questions. I'm the one in like asking.
It's nice,
so yeah, it is nice being the other side. It's good fun.
But listen, mate, hopefully we'll be on the pitch again really, really soon. If you don't follow Mike and Sport 101 on Instagram or YouTube, make sure you subscribe and all that sort of stuff. But Mike, I'll be seeing you soon for a beer or two, and I'm sure. Hopefully some decent grub. If you used to be a chef,
we can make that happen.
Okay, sounds good, mate. But thanks very much for your time.
Brilliant, buddy. Take care. Cheers, man.
Catch you soon.
Bye.